And we begin with new developments surrounding the coronavirus. There are 2 new confirmed cases down in Harris County near Houston.
And now we know where they were traveling before coming to Texas. Look, we need to repeat, the risk in North Texas is still low. Health officials just updated us on those new cases. Kevin Reese is live in our newsroom. What have you learned?
Well, we learned in just the last hour that the people confirmed to have the coronavirus in the Houston area are people that were part of a travel group that recently returned to the Houston area from a trip to Egypt. 2 cases are confirmed, tests verified by the CDC, a man and woman now in the hospital in stable condition with the coronavirus. The cases in northwest Harris County outside city limits, but one of them identified as an employee of Rice University, that campus right in the heart of Houston, right next to the Texas Medical Center. There is a 3rd person in Fort Bend County west of Houston who was on that same trip to Egypt, we are told. The Texas Department of State Health Services confirmed a positive test result yesterday, but they are still waiting for a final determination by the CDC. That person identified as a 70-year-old man now in isolation in a hospital. And in a news conference just a short while ago, the Harris County judge said that a number of people, in addition to these 3, were on that same tourist trip to Egypt. They are under self-quarantine with test results pending on them as well.
This is just the first 2 cases. We expect to see more in the coming days as we receive test results back. But know that we are very much in the containment phase.
Harris County Judge Lina Hidalgo also said that they are mapping every contact these people have had since they returned to the Houston area from that trip to Egypt, that they're encouraging those people to get tested and to self-quarantine. And as you heard her say, they expect more cases based on this one travel group to Egypt alone. In the newsroom, I'm Kevin Reese. Back to you.